Have you heard of the term TCK or third culture kids? It refers to the people who are raised in a cultural environment that differs from that of their parents. I believe here this evening we have many third culture kids, and perhaps not only third culture kids, but third culture parents as well. Just raise your hand if you're a third culture kid. While third culture kids have the advantages of being born multicultural, they're also faced with significant challenges such as where is home? Many say that they feel most at home in an airport. On a more serious note, what is the language they use to communicate with their family members, especially with grandparents? Now I'm not a third culture kid since I was born in China and I spent a majority of my life there. I knew where my home was and I did not rely on an airport for that. However, when it came to speaking to my grandparents, I couldn't. I had never learned the vernacular Hokkien, and that saddens me. So whenever I tried to talk to my grandmother, my grandfather always had to be around to act as an interpreter, as I didn't get to learn Hokkien and my grandmother didn't get to learn Mandarin Chinese as well. And that makes me feel that I couldn't develop a close relationship with them since I was never able to have an authentic conversation with my grandparents in their mother tongue. So why do dialects disappear altogether sometimes? In today's world, in the interest of globalization, world trade, mass and instant communication, only a handful of languages are in demand. According to UNESCO, the number of speakers of English, Mandarin, Spanish, French, and Hindi are equal to more than half of the world's population. And of course, there's another whole debate about the standard and non-standard English, but that's for another TED speaker at another time. While language focuses on mass communication, by implication, the individual and unique voices are silenced, associated cultural expression falls into disuse. Latin is nowadays only used in some courts of law in spite of Romans enjoying an entire empire that crossed 3 different continents. And as I delved deeper into history, I found that the loss of languages may have some serious consequences. From late 19th to early 20th century, the practice of indigenous languages was discouraged in a Native American residential school system in Canada to enhance the process of assimilation of Native American people into mainstream Canadian society. And the rupture of their languages resulted in the damage to their traditional knowledge and the ways of life that have been inherited through centuries. While some countries historically through wars and colonization have lost their languages as well, and this process often not resulted in the eradication of the culture of that ethnicity. So language is more than a carrier of information. It is a rudiment of our civilization, and it is a part of our identity's DNA. And it's important to know who we are to retain our culture, heritage, and therefore our ethnic language. That's the reason I use the word Ethnolect instead of vernacular or village language, as it has a close link to our culture, ethnicity, and even to our worldview. So when a language dies, it means beyond the loss of sentence structure, grammar, or anything else. It's the death of the language. It's the death of the language, and it's the end of the culture belongs to it as well. Just think of how many unique expressions are there in your mother tongue. When we lose a language, we lose the ability to express certain ideas or concepts that may not exist in other languages or cultures. Just as there are varieties of ecosystems on our planet, the diversity in human society is something vital to our existence. Voyager 1, the first ever spacecraft that traveled out of the solar system, has a golden record on it. So what does it contain to show to the extraterrestrial civilization? Well, it's not the album of Beatles or the movies of John Kubrick. What it has is the greetings from 55 different human languages, because that's what is essential to our human being, the diversity. And here's a cold fact: the diversity in terms of human language is diminishingly astonishingly. According to UNESCO, of those 7,000 languages still in use today, half of them are predicted to disappear by the end of this century, which equates to the speed of 1 language dying every 2 weeks. Yes, It is an inevitable trend in today's world where the dominant languages expand their influence at the same rate as other languages being marginalized. So how can we stop this? The loss of the language, the loss of our culture? The most realistic and effective way for us is to learn our Ethnolect. As I reflected on the experience I had with my grandparents, in addition to the hindrance to development of a close relationship, the inability of speaking my Ethnolect prevented me from fully understanding their stories, the collective memories of their generations. Besides, I was also contributing to the process of extinction of a language, the eradication of a culture, and also the loss of diversity in human society. Since both of my grandparents passed away a few years ago, I don't have the chance anymore to hear their voices, listen to their anecdotes, or ask them about the rich history embedded in Hokkien culture. With this deep regret, I started learning Hokkien a year ago, and now I can almost converse with other Hokkien speakers unobstructedly. If you're someone in similar situation, you can also push back against the time and the loss it brings. You've got this and you're not alone. Third culture kids should feel at home in more than the airport. I'd like to end with the thoughts that comes from the notion of Mao Zedong. History is not written by heroes, but it is the collective deeds of the commoners. Yes, we make history today, but only if we start doing something. Learn your Ethnolect, retain and sustain your culture. Make your intention your action. Thank you.